exactly 300 pounds of pure muscle, almost unbelievable razor-sharp claws, roars powerful enough to shake mountains, and right now, a lion is simply standing still, eyes closed, breathing deeply. Tonight, we descend into their world. Welcome to tonight's sleep documentary. Whether your eyes are already growing heavy, or whether you're still wide awake with curiosity, this journey is made for you. For the next hour or so, we're going to walk alongside lions, from the first pale light of dawn on the African savanna, all the way through the heat of noon, into the golden dusk, and finally into the deep star-filled darkness of an African night. We will discover how a pride actually functions, what lions eat and how they hunt, how they communicate without a single word, how cubs spend their earliest weeks, and what a lion is actually thinking about when it stares into the distance with those ancient amber eyes. We have 5 great mysteries to explore tonight. The first is why lions sleep so much and what happens inside their bodies while they rest. The second is the hidden social language of the pride. The third is the truth about hunting, which is far more complicated than a simple chase. The fourth is the secret life of lion cubs, which most people never get to witness. And the fifth, the most surprising of all, we have saved for the very end. So let us begin at the beginning. Let us begin at sunrise. The African savanna just before dawn is one of the most quiet places on earth. The darkness is still thick, warm, and heavy with the smell of dry grass and distant rain. Somewhere in this darkness, a pride of lions is scattered across a patch of open ground near a cluster of acacia trees. Some are pressed close together, flank to flank, their breathing slow and perfectly synchronized. Others have stretched out alone, legs extended, chins resting on the cool earth. They have been here for hours. They will be here for hours more. This is the foundational truth of lion daily life. Lions are, above all else, masters of rest. To understand why lions sleep between 16 and 20 hours every single day, we need to understand the biology underneath that golden fur. Lions are obligate carnivores. Every single calorie they consume comes from meat. And meat, unlike fruit or grass or leaves, is not available all the time. It must be chased, caught, killed, and consumed in bursts. A single large meal for a lion, the kind that comes from a zebra or a wildebeest, can weigh 40 to 60 pounds of meat consumed in one sitting. After a meal like that, the lion's digestive system requires enormous amounts of energy simply to process what has been eaten. The body temperature rises, the metabolism works at full capacity, and the most efficient thing a lion can do during this process is absolutely nothing. But it goes deeper than digestion. Lions evolved on a landscape where food was uncertain. A pride might go 2 or 3 days without a successful hunt. Then they might consume enough in one night to last several more days. Their bodies are built for this rhythm of feast and fast, of explosive effort followed by extended recovery. The muscles that power a lion's charge are fast-twitch fibers, the same type that sprinters use. Fast-twitch muscles are incredibly powerful, but they exhaust quickly, and they require long periods of rest to recover. So every hour a lion spends lying in the shade is an hour that its muscles are rebuilding, its energy reserves are restoring, and its body is preparing for the next explosive demand placed upon it. Now here is something that will keep you thinking, even as your eyes grow heavier. Scientists studying lion sleep have discovered that lions do not simply slip into a single uniform state of rest. Their sleep moves through cycles, just like human sleep. There are periods of light dozing, where the ears still swivel to catch sounds and the nostrils still process the passing air. And there are periods of deep sleep, where the body goes almost completely still and the eyes move beneath closed lids. Researchers believe that lions, like many large mammals, experience something resembling REM sleep, the deep phase where dreams occur in humans. What does a lion dream about? We cannot know for certain, but consider this. Studies on sleeping predators suggest that the brain during deep sleep replays the patterns of recent experiences, consolidating them into memory, which means that when a lion sleeps, it may be, in some sense, practicing, rehearsing the hunt, ingraining the lessons of yesterday's chase into tomorrow's instinct. The pride begins to stir as the sun climbs, not all at once, because lions rarely do anything all at once. First, a young female lifts her head, ears scanning. She exhales slowly through her nose, takes in the morning air, and then lowers her chin back to the ground. A few minutes pass. Then a large male, his dark mane already absorbing the warming sunlight, shifts his weight. He stretches one foreleg out to its full length, claws extending and then retracting, and he yawns. A lion's yawn is a remarkable thing. The jaw opens impossibly wide, revealing teeth the length of a human finger and a tongue that curls backward in a pink wave. The sound is a long, wet exhalation, somewhere between a groan and a sigh. It is contagious. Within moments, 3 other lions yawn in sequence. This is the beginning of what researchers call the morning greeting ritual, and it is one of the most socially important moments in a lion's day. As the pride wakes, individuals begin to move toward each other. Not urgently. Nothing about lion mornings is urgent. They approach with their heads low and they begin to rub, head against head, cheek against chin, forehead pressed to the side of a neck. This behavior is called allo-rubbing, and it is far more than simple affection. When lions rub their faces together, they are exchanging scent. The glands around a lion's face, particularly near the cheeks and forehead, produce chemical signals that carry identity information. By rubbing these areas together, lions are continuously updating a shared scent profile that belongs to the pride as a whole. Think of it this way. The pride has a collective smell, a signature that every member contributes to and carries. When a lion rubs against another, it is essentially saying, I am still here. I am still part of this. We are still us. For a social predator that may spend parts of the night separated across a large territory, this morning reaffirmation of group identity is essential. It reinforces the bonds that make cooperative hunting possible, that make shared cub rearing possible, that make the entire pride structure work. But there is something more about the morning greeting that we have saved for later in tonight's documentary. Something about what happens when a greeting does not occur. Keep that in your mind. Now, as the golden morning light spreads across the savanna, the pride begins its first real activity of the day. Not hunting, not yet. First, grooming. Lions groom each other with a dedication and thoroughness that rivals any other social animal on Earth. A female leans into a resting male and begins to lick the top of his mane with long, deliberate strokes. Her tongue, covered in backward-facing papillae, those tiny hook-like structures that give a cat's tongue its roughness, works through the dense fur like a natural brush. She reaches behind his ears, along the back of his neck, into the places he cannot easily reach himself. This mutual grooming, called allo-grooming by scientists, serves obvious physical purposes. It removes parasites, cleans wounds, and maintains the coat. In an environment full of biting insects, ticks, and the aftermath of violent hunts, regular grooming is genuinely important for health, but the social function is equally important. Studies have shown that lions who engage in more allo-grooming have stronger social bonds, are more likely to cooperate during hunts, and are more likely to assist each other in conflicts with rival prides. Grooming is, in a very real sense, the currency of lion society. The more you invest in it, the stronger your social position becomes. While the adults groom and rest, the cubs of the pride are already in motion. Cubs are the exception to almost every rule about lion behavior. Where adults conserve energy, cubs expend it recklessly. Where adults move slowly and deliberately, cubs tumble, sprint, roll, and crash into things. A cub of 3 or 4 months, still small enough to fit inside an adult's yawn, will treat absolutely everything as a potential toy or opponent. A drifting leaf becomes a target. A sleeping adult's tail becomes an irresistible object of ambush. And another cub becomes an endless source of wrestling, biting, and chaotic play. This play is not mere entertainment. It is education delivered in the only form a young carnivore can absorb: experience. Every time a cub pounces on another cub, it is developing the neural pathways that will control the predatory pounce it will need as an adult. Every time it bites down and feels the resistance of another small body, it is calibrating the force and angle of a bite. Every time it loses its balance chasing something and tumbles in the dust, it is learning, at a very deep level, how its own body moves through space. Lion cubs play as if their lives depend on it, because eventually they do. Here is the first of our 5 great mysteries, and we promised we would solve it. Why do lions sleep so much? We have begun to answer that, but the complete answer involves something that researchers only recently confirmed, and it changes how we think about these animals entirely. The real reason lions sleep so many hours is not only about energy conservation or muscle recovery, it is about heat. The African savanna can reach temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius during the day. At that temperature, a large-bodied animal like a lion faces a serious physiological problem. Lions do not sweat efficiently. They pant like dogs to release heat, but this method uses water, and water on the savanna is precious. If a lion were to move, to hunt, To exert energy during the hottest hours of the day, it would rapidly overheat and dehydrate. The long hours of midday sleep are, in a significant sense, a behavioral adaptation to climate. The lion is not lazy. The lion is the most efficient user of thermal energy in its ecosystem. It hunts when temperatures are cooler, at dawn, at dusk, and through the night, and it conserves itself when the heat would make activity dangerous. This means that what looks like indolence, what looks like a creature doing nothing, is actually a masterpiece of biological optimization. Every sleeping lion is a machine perfectly calibrated to its environment, doing exactly what it should be doing at exactly the right time. As you let your own breathing slow and your own eyes grow heavier, consider that rest, real rest, is not the absence of purpose. For a lion, rest is the purpose. Rest is the strategy. Rest is how the hunt becomes possible. The morning grooming session winds down as the sun climbs higher. Now comes a period that scientists call the social hour, though it can last considerably longer than 60 minutes. This is when the true complexity of lion social structure becomes visible. A lion pride is not simply a group of lions living together. It is a carefully organized society with rules, hierarchies, relationships, alliances, and tensions that shift constantly. Understanding it requires us to start with the core unit of any pride, the females. The females of a lion pride are almost always related to each other. A typical pride might contain 2 to 4 related adult females, their sisters, their daughters, their mothers, and the young cubs and adolescents produced by these females over several years. These female lions are the stable heart of the pride. They are born into it, they live their entire lives within it, and when they produce daughters, those daughters stay too. The females hunt together, raise cubs cooperatively, defend the territory together, and maintain the social bonds that hold the pride through seasons of plenty and seasons of hardship. The males of the pride are a different story entirely. Male lions are born into a pride, but when they reach adolescence, between 2 and 4 years of age, they are driven out. Not violently expelled in most cases, but gradually marginalized. The resident adult males become increasingly intolerant of them. The young males begin to range further and further from the pride's core. Eventually they leave. They become what researchers call nomadic males, and the life of a nomadic male lion is one of the most difficult existences in the animal kingdom. Without the cooperative hunting structure of a pride, young male lions often struggle to eat. They are too large and too visible to stalk prey effectively alone. They lack the experience and the coalition support they need. Many nomadic males are thin, scraggly, carrying healed wounds from failed hunts and territorial encounters. They wander, sometimes alone, sometimes in pairs or small groups of brothers, covering enormous distances across the savanna. But some of them, the ones who survive long enough, the ones who grow large enough and strong enough, eventually challenge the males of an established pride. And this is where the lion story takes a turn that most people find deeply uncomfortable when they first learn about it. But it is essential to understanding what the daily life of every lion in a pride looks like. We will come to that part. But first, we need to go deeper into the landscape of the savanna itself, because you cannot understand lion daily life without understanding the world they move through. The territory of a pride of lions is vast. A typical pride territory in the Serengeti of Tanzania might cover between 20 and 400 square kilometers, depending on the density of prey. In areas where wildebeest, zebra, and other large ungulates are abundant, territories can be smaller because food is easy to find. In drier, more marginal areas, territories must be enormous, simply to contain enough prey to feed the pride through the lean months. Lions mark this territory constantly. The most dramatic form of marking is the roar. A lion's roar is one of the most powerful vocalizations produced by any land animal on Earth. It begins as a series of low, groaning moans, building in depth and volume until it erupts into a full-throated declaration that can travel 5 miles across open grassland. When a male roars, he is doing several things simultaneously. He is announcing his presence and his fitness to any rival males within hearing range. He is signaling to the females of his pride scattered across the territory that he is present and active. And he is reinforcing the territorial boundary that separates his pride's land from that of neighbouring groups. But roaring is only one layer of territorial communication. Lions also mark with scent. They rub their faces against trees, rocks, and bushes, depositing the chemical signals produced by their facial glands. They spray urine on vegetation, leaving a message that any passing lion can read. This ground is claimed, it is maintained, approach at your own risk. They scrape the ground with their back feet, leaving both a visual mark and a scent from the glands between their toes. and they leave their scent simply by walking, by resting, by pressing their bodies against the landscape. Within the territory, the pride does not stay in one place. They are continuously in motion, tracing routes that follow water sources, prey concentrations, and shaded resting areas. In the dry season, when water is scarce, and prey, animals concentrate around the few remaining water holes, lion movements become more predictable. They patrol near these water sources because where prey comes to drink, a patient lion will eventually have an opportunity. In the wet season, when prey is spread across the landscape, lions range more widely, moving with the herds. As the sun passes its highest point and begins its long afternoon descent, the savanna enters its quietest phase. The heat is extraordinary. The air above the grass shimmers, even the insects seem subdued, and the lions are completely, utterly still. They have found the deepest shade available under an acacia in the shadow of a termite mound along the bank of a dried riverbed, and they have arranged themselves in the most heat-releasing postures imaginable. Legs extended, bellies up, mouths open. Several females lie with their heads resting on each other's flanks, sharing shade and the slight cooling effect of each other's slower breathing. This is the sacred hour of deep sleep, and researchers who study lion behavior will tell you that during this time, the pride is nearly impossible to disturb. Short of a direct threat, a nearby predator, or a sudden loud noise, lions in deep midday sleep will simply not respond. A researcher can approach within a surprisingly short distance, and the lions will at most open one eye, assess the situation, determine there is no threat, and return to sleep. They are not being careless. They are being efficient. The cost of unnecessary alertness, the energy burned, the heat generated, the water lost, is simply not worth paying in the middle of a 40-degree afternoon. But here is what is happening beneath that apparent stillness. The pride senses never fully shut down. Among a sleeping group of lions, there is always at least one individual in a lighter phase of sleep, ears positioned to catch sounds, nostrils open to the passing breeze. This is not assigned duty. No lion decides to stand watch while the others sleep. It emerges naturally from the cycling nature of their sleep patterns, because individuals cycle through deep and light sleep at slightly different rates. The group as a whole maintains a kind of distributed awareness, even when every individual appears completely unconscious. It is a collective security system that requires no coordination and no communication to function. We mentioned earlier that there was something more to tell you about the morning greeting, about what happens when a greeting does not occur. Now is the time. Lions that have been separated from the pride for an extended period, those who have been ranging far from the group during a night of independent movement, return to the pride with a specific set of behaviors. They approach slowly. They hold their heads low. They make a soft, breathy vocalization called a prustan, a sound also made by tigers and sometimes described as a quiet, chuffing exhale through a relaxed throat. They wait, and the pride members approach them and rub. The returning lion and the greeting lion press their faces together with an intensity that researchers describe as markedly different from routine daily greetings. The reason this matters: studies have found that lions who fail to reintegrate properly after separation, who return to the pride and are not greeted, or who for some reason are excluded from the greeting ritual, show measurable behavioral changes in the days that follow. They are less likely to participate in cooperative hunts. They range further from the pride's core. They engage in more solitary behavior. In other words, a missed greeting is not simply a social oversight. It is the beginning of a fracture in the social fabric of the pride. The greeting is not a formality. It is the glue. Now, as the afternoon heat begins to soften, as the shadows start to lengthen, and the air temperature drops by even a few degrees, the pride begins to wake again. And this time, the energy is different. The grooming and greeting of the morning had a gentle social quality. The waking of late afternoon has an edge to it. Appetites are asserting themselves. It has been many hours since the last meal for some pride members. Cubs nuzzle at the females who have not yet produced milk, then redirect their energy into play that is sharper, more focused, more predatory in its quality. The adults sit up, scan the horizon, and begin the process of awareness that precedes a hunt. And this brings us to our third great mystery, the one that has fascinated naturalists for centuries, the truth about how lions hunt. Most people imagine a lion hunt as a straightforward chase. Lion sees prey, lion runs, lion catches prey. The reality is so much more complex, so much more strategic, that once you understand it, you will never look at a hunting lion the same way again. First, the decision to hunt is not made by one lion. In a pride with multiple adult females, The decision emerges from the group's collective state of hunger and opportunity. Individual lions show interest, moving to higher ground to survey the landscape, freezing when prey comes into view, crouching into the early stages of a stalking posture. Other lions notice. They begin to orient in the same direction. Without any signal that a human observer could clearly identify, the pride shifts into hunting mode together. The stalk is the heart of a lion hunting strategy, and it requires qualities that seem to contradict everything we know about these animals. Patience, stillness, restraint. A lion that has spotted prey 200 meters away will lower itself to the ground and begin to move, but slowly does not capture it adequately. The lion moves with such deliberate flowing precision that it seems to melt into the grass rather than move through it. Each footfall is placed with care. The head stays below the line of the grass. The body is held at a constant height. And then, if the prey glances in the lion's direction, everything stops completely. A lion in mid-stalk can freeze so perfectly, so absolutely, that prey animals have been documented looking directly at a crouching lion without reacting, because the lack of movement rendered it invisible. This is the physiology of the ambush predator in action. Lions' eyes, like all cats' eyes, are optimized for detecting movement. The neurons in their visual cortex that process motion information are extraordinarily sensitive, and prey animals, through millions of years of coevolution, have developed the same sensitivity. Movement means danger, but something that does not move, something that holds utterly still in the grass, falls below the threshold of threat detection. The lion knows this, not consciously in the way we know things, but in the deep ancient way that evolution has encoded into its behavior. It is still because stillness is the strategy. The roles within a hunting pride are not rigidly assigned, but they are consistent. Some females, usually the faster and more agile individuals, tend to serve as the chasers, the ones who close the final gap and make the actual contact with prey. Others, usually those who are slightly heavier or more powerful, take positions that cut off escape routes. When a prey animal flees, it almost never flees directly away from the lion that is nearest to it. It angles, it veers, it tries to find an opening, and a lion positioned 50 meters to the side can use that veering instinct against the prey, placing itself in the path of the escape route before the prey even realizes the route has been blocked. This coordination requires no verbal communication. It relies entirely on each lion reading and responding to the movements of the others. Researchers call this emergent strategy, because it emerges from the interactions of individuals rather than being explicitly planned by anyone. But it is so effective that studying it has influenced human thinking about cooperative robotics and distributed decision-making systems. The humble lion hunt has contributed to the design of search and rescue drone swarms. Consider that thought. The moment the attack begins, what happens is truly legendary. These lions, as fast as a Ferrari, are incredibly quick. Using their stored energy, they can sprint at high speed and make sudden leaps while running. But the chase rarely lasts more than a few seconds. If a lion has not made contact within 200 meters, the chase is usually abandoned. Prey animals, especially wildebeest and zebra, are built for sustained running. Over a long distance, they will outlast a lion every time. The lion's strategy is entirely about closing the distance before the prey reaches full speed, about taking advantage of the brief window between the moment the prey realizes danger and the moment it has fully accelerated. If that window is missed, the opportunity is gone. Success rates for lion hunts are sobering. Across multiple long-term studies in different African ecosystems, lions succeed in roughly 20 to 30% of hunts. In difficult terrain, or against particularly fast and alert prey, success rates drop even lower. This means that for every successful hunt you might witness, 3 or 4 attempts have already ended in failure. This is why the cooperative social structure of the pride is so essential. A single lion hunting alone has success rates even lower. By hunting cooperatively, by surrounding prey, by cutting off escape routes, the pride raises everyone's chances. The social structure is not just emotionally beneficial, it is the mechanism that keeps everyone fed. When a hunt is successful, the behavior at the kill site is worth examining carefully, because it reveals something important about lion social dynamics. The lion that makes the kill, usually by suffocation, clamping the jaw around the prey's throat and maintaining that hold until breathing ceases, does not necessarily eat first. Lions are to kill are not polite. There is pushing, growling, and outright aggression over access to the carcass. Dominant females and large males claim prime positions. Cubs are often pushed to the edges of the group and must wait, sometimes for hours, for an opportunity to access the meat. This might seem cruel, and viewed through human eyes it perhaps appears that way, but it reflects a biological reality. In an environment of uncertain food supply, the animals most capable of producing the next generation of offspring, the prime adult females, and the animals most capable of defending the territory and the pride, the large adult males, receive nutritional priority. Cubs are resilient and can survive periods of reduced food intake more easily than they would survive the loss of a hunting female or a territorial male. The logic is cold, but it is effective. Here is something remarkable that happens at the kill, something that contradicts the image of lions as purely competitive animals. Once the initial feeding frenzy settles, once dominant animals have eaten their fill and moved slightly away from the carcass, the social dynamics shift. Cubs approach, females allow cubs to push past them. An adult female who has been eating will sometimes move away from the best part of the carcass and allow a hungry cub to take her place. This is not random. Females show this deference specifically to cubs they are related to or cubs they have participated in raising. The same competitive drive that pushes cubs aside in the first minutes of feeding gives way, once the most urgent hunger is satisfied, to something that looks recognizably like caring. Lions have been observed carrying pieces of meat and allowing cubs to take it from their mouths. Females have been documented engaging in what researchers call food facilitation, positioning themselves near a carcass in a way that gives cubs easier access. None of this is obligatory. There is no rule that says a lion must share. It emerges from the social bonds that have been built through months of grooming, of allar-rubbing, of sleeping pressed together in the shade. Now the sun is settling toward the horizon, and the savanna is entering its most beautiful hour. The light turns amber and then deep orange, and the long shadows stretch across the grass like fingers. For lions, this is often the most active time of the entire day. The heat has broken. Prey animals are moving toward water sources. The light is low enough to provide cover for a hunting lion, but there is still enough visibility to move effectively. This is prime hunting time, and a pride that has not eaten in a day or more will be intensely focused. But tonight, let us imagine that our pride is reasonably well fed. The large female who made last night's kill consumed over 30 pounds of meat. The cubs fed adequately. Even the sub-adult males, always last in the feeding hierarchy, managed enough. So this evening, instead of a hunt, we witness something else: territorial patrol. Two of the adult females rise and begin walking with a purposefulness that is immediately distinct from their usual ambling morning movement. They are moving along the edge of the pride's territory, following a route that they have walked hundreds of times before. As they move, they stop periodically to sniff particular trees and rocks, reading the scent messages left by other lions, checking the freshness of rival pride markings and adding their own. This patrol behavior is an investment in the future. A well-maintained territory is a well-defended one. Rival prides that detect active, regular patrolling are less likely to attempt incursions. Neighbouring lions who smell fresh markings know that this ground is occupied and maintained. The patrol is not glamorous. It requires walking for miles in the evening air, stopping, sniffing, marking, walking again. But it is as essential to the pride's survival as any hunt. As the patrol continues, let us take a moment to consider something that most lion documentaries never show you: the sound of a pride at rest in the evening. Not the roar, which is dramatic and well documented, but the quiet sounds. The soft chuffing when pride members approach each other. The low rumbling sound that is almost like purring but not quite. A sustained vocalization produced by lions during social contact that researchers call a grunt or a rumble. The occasional short, sharp sound made when a cub is pushed away from something it wanted. The breathing of multiple large animals, slow and synchronized, rising and falling in the cooling air. These sounds, these quiet domestic sounds of a social group settling into its evening rhythms, are the sounds that would accompany you for hours if you were lying in the grass near a resting pride. They are the sounds of connection, of belonging, of a society that has been shaped by millions of years of living together. And they are, many people who have experienced them in the field report, among the most deeply calming sounds they have ever heard. Let them move through you now, as you settle deeper into your own rest. We have arrived at the fourth of our 5 great mysteries, the secret life of lion cubs. We touched on them briefly during the morning hours, but to truly understand what a lion cub's daily existence looks like, we need to go back further, back to before the cub joins the pride, back to the den. When a lioness is ready to give birth, she separates from the pride. She finds a secluded location, a rocky outcropping, a dense thicket, a cave-like depression in the earth, and she becomes, for a period of several weeks, essentially solitary. Lion cubs are born in litters of 2 to 4, occasionally as many as 6, though large litters are rare. They're born with their eyes closed, weighing roughly 3 to 4 pounds each, completely dependent on their mother for warmth, nutrition, and protection. For the first 6 to 8 weeks of their lives, the cubs do not see the pride. Their world is the den and the immediate surroundings of it, which their mother carefully controls. She hunts alone during this period, returning to nurse the cubs. She moves the den site regularly, sometimes every few days, carrying each cub individually in her mouth, moving low and fast through the grass to a new location. This movement behavior is a security response. A den that has been occupied for more than a few days begins to accumulate smell. The smell of cubs, of milk, of urine, of an inhabited space becomes detectable to predators. Spotted hyenas, leopards, African wild dogs, and even other lions can pose a threat to unguarded cubs. By moving regularly, the mother reduces the scent trail that could lead predators to her young. The survival rate of lion cubs during this early hidden period is significantly lower than most people realize. Studies in areas with high hyena populations have found that up to 50% of cubs fail to survive their first year. The threats are numerous: predation, starvation when the mother is injured or cannot hunt effectively, and what researchers call infanticide, the deliberate ending of cubs' lives by unfamiliar adult males who take over a pride. This last threat is the source of one of the most challenging aspects of lion biology to accept. When a new coalition of males takes over a pride, driving out the previous resident males, they will usually seek out and end the lives of the existing cubs, those sired by the males they have displaced. This behavior, which appears brutal from a human perspective, has a clear evolutionary explanation. A nursing female does not come into reproductive condition. By ending the lives of another male's cubs, the incoming males cause the females to become reproductively available again much sooner than they otherwise would be. The incoming males then father their own cubs, and those cubs carry their genes forward. From the cold perspective of evolutionary biology, it works. From any other perspective, it is among the hardest things to witness in the natural world. But here is the other side of that story, and it is important. Lionesses who are pregnant or who have very young cubs at the time of male takeover sometimes display a remarkable adaptation. They continue to show signs of reproductive behavior, sometimes mating with the new males even though they are already pregnant. This can lead the incoming males to believe that any cubs subsequently born are their own. Cubs that are spared in this way, cubs that are protected rather than threatened by new males, have a dramatically higher survival rate, and the females who are most effective at this deceptive strategy produce more surviving offspring over their lifetimes. Evolution, as always, finds a way. When the cubs finally join the pride, usually around 6 to 8 weeks of age, the transition is extraordinary to witness. The mother approaches the pride carefully, the cubs wobbling and tumbling alongside her. The adult females approach with great interest, sniffing the cubs thoroughly, and then, in most cases, accepting them with a warmth that surprises observers. Within days, the cubs are nursing not just from their own mother, but from other nursing females in the pride. This communal nursing, called allonursing, means that cubs can receive milk from any lactating female, not just the one who gave birth to them. This shared nursing has a profound effect on cub survival. If a mother is injured or fails to return from a hunt, her cubs do not automatically face starvation. The other nursing females of the pride can sustain them. Furthermore, when multiple females in a pride give birth at similar times, which they often do, because the social stimulation of living together can synchronize reproductive cycles, all the cubs are raised together as a creche, a communal nursery group. Cubs in a creche play together, sleep together, nurse from multiple females, and develop the social bonds that will last their entire lives. The lions they grow up with become their sisters, their hunting partners, their allies in territorial disputes, their pride. Male cubs, those who will eventually be driven from the pride, often leave together. Brothers who have grown up in the same creche leave as a coalition, and these brotherly coalitions are the ones most likely to eventually challenge and take over a pride. The bond formed in those earliest weeks of tumbling play in the den, and the creche becomes the foundation of an alliance that may persist for a decade or more. In a very real sense, the way a lion cub spends its first year determines almost everything about what kind of life it will have. The night has fully arrived now on our savanna. The stars of the southern sky are extraordinary here, far from any city lights, undimmed by pollution. The Milky Way stretches from horizon to horizon like a river of light, and somewhere beneath it, our pride has scattered slightly. Some individuals have settled into their night resting places. Others are active, moving through the landscape, using the darkness the way they have been shaped by millions of years of evolution to use it. Lions are not truly nocturnal in the biological sense of that word, but they are highly adapted to low-light conditions. Their eyes contain a structure called the tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind the retina that bounces incoming light back through the retina a second time, effectively doubling the amount of light available to the photoreceptors. This is what causes a lion's eyes to glow green or gold when a light shines on them in the dark. It is also what allows a lion to see in conditions that would be effectively blind darkness to a human. Researchers estimate that lions can see roughly 6 times better than humans in low-light conditions. In the silvery darkness of a moonlit African night, a lion sees the landscape almost as clearly as it does at dawn. This vision advantage is particularly important because many of the prey animals lions hunt, wildebeest, zebra, and Cape buffalo, are primarily active during daylight and rely heavily on vision for predator detection. In the darkness, their defense is compromised. The lion's advantage is maximized. This is why, across multiple studies of lion hunting behavior, a disproportionate number of successful hunts occur during the hours between midnight and dawn, in the deepest darkness, when the moon has set and the stars alone illuminate the grass. On moonless nights especially, lion hunting success rates rise significantly. Researchers who have tracked lion movements with GPS collars over long periods have found that pride activity levels are measurably correlated with lunar cycles. On the nights around the full moon, when the savanna is flooded with silver light and visibility is high, lions tend to rest more and hunt less. In the dark nights of the new moon, they are significantly more active. The moon, in a very real sense, sets the lion's schedule. But tonight, let us imagine our pride is simply resting. The cubs are deeply asleep, piled in a warm heap against a large female's belly. The adult females are spread across a comfortable patch of ground, some in light sleep, some in deeper rest. The male, massive and dark-maned, has settled slightly apart from the group, as males often do, but within easy roaring distance, and every so often, perhaps every hour or two, he lifts his great head, draws in a deep breath and releases a roar into the darkness. Low at first, building, rising, and then rolling out across the grassland in great waves of sound, he listens to the silence that follows. Then he lowers his head again and closes his eyes. These night roars are not disturbances. They are, in their way, a kind of reassurance. Every member of the pride that hears that sound knows that the male is present, that the territory is being declared, that the group's boundaries are being maintained even in the deepest hours of the night. And for animals that may have scattered across a kilometre or more of grassland in the darkness, that sound is a point of orientation, an anchor, a way of knowing where the centre is. We will come back to that idea of the centre in just a few minutes, because it connects directly to our 5th great mystery, the one we have saved until now. Before we get there, let us spend a moment on something that rarely appears in wildlife documentaries, but is absolutely real. What happens when a lion is sick or injured? Because lions, like all living creatures, face illness and injury, and how the pride responds to a compromised member reveals something essential about what these animals are. A lion with a broken leg is not capable of hunting. It cannot run. It cannot stalk effectively. It is, in the brutal arithmetic of predator-prey ecology, a liability. And yet study after study of wild lion populations has found healed injuries in the skeletons and bodies of adult lions, injuries that would have been immediately fatal without a period of rest and recovery during which the animal could not have fed itself. How did they survive? The same way the injured worker in an ancient Egyptian pyramid construction site survived, which the documentary that inspired tonight's journey mentioned. They were fed. They were maintained. Other members of the group provided what the injured individual could not provide for itself. This is not unique behaviour. It has been documented in elephants, in dolphins, in wolves, in chimpanzees. It appears to be a characteristic that emerges in highly social species with strong long-term bonds. The investment in maintaining group members, even temporarily non-productive ones, pays dividends when the group is faced with challenges that require numbers and cooperation. A pride with 5 healthy adult females can hunt prey that a pride of 3 cannot manage. So maintaining a 6th female through an injury, even at some cost, is a rational long-term strategy. But it is also something more. When a healthy adult female is documented sharing meat with an injured pride member, or lying pressed against that member through a cold night, or grooming wounds that the injured lion cannot reach, it is difficult to describe what is happening with purely strategic language. Something else is present. Something that, if we encountered it in a human context, we would call compassion without hesitation. We have arrived at last at the fifth great mystery. We told you we had saved the most surprising one for the end, and here it is. What is the lion's greatest threat? Not humans, though human activity has certainly reduced lion populations dramatically over the past century. Not drought, though climate change is making droughts more frequent and more severe across the African savanna. Not disease, though outbreaks like canine distemper and feline immunodeficiency virus have affected lion populations significantly. The lion's greatest threat, across most of its range, across most of recorded history, is other lions. Think about what this means. The most lethal enemy of a pride of lions is a neighbouring pride of lions. Territorial conflicts between prides result in a significant percentage of adult lion deaths in many study areas. In the Serengeti, studies have found that approximately 20% of adult lion deaths result from conflicts with conspecifics, with other members of their own species. In areas where habitat has been fragmented and territories have been compressed by human land use, that percentage is even higher. The reason for this level of intraspecific conflict, of conflict within the same species, comes back to the fundamental resource that a lion's survival depends on: territory. A territory that contains reliable water, abundant prey, and secure denning sites for cubs is everything. Losing that territory means losing access to food, losing cubs, losing the social bonds that have been built over years, losing the ability to reproduce successfully. Fights over territory are therefore fought with absolute commitment, with a ferocity that the lions reserve almost exclusively for each other. But here is the twist that makes this mystery complete, the thing that loops back to everything we have explored tonight. The best defense against territorial loss is the strength of the pride itself, a pride with strong social bonds, where females groom each other extensively, where cubs are well fed and well raised, where the greeting rituals are maintained and the communal identity is continually reinforced, is a pride that will defend its territory more effectively. The social fabric that we observed in the morning grooming ritual, the scent sharing and the aloe rubbing, is not separate from the pride's survival strategy. It is the survival strategy. The connection between members is the armor. The bond is the defense. Every hour of grooming, every shared feeding, every morning greeting is an investment in the collective strength that keeps the territory safe. And this means that when we watch a lion sleeping in the shade, or when we watch two lions grooming each other with slow, deliberate care, or when we watch cubs tumbling over each other in the golden afternoon light, we are not watching incidental behaviours, the gaps between the dramatic moments of the hunt. We are watching the most important work that a lion does. We are watching the maintenance of the social structure that makes everything else possible. The sleeping is not a pause in the lion's life. The grooming is not a distraction from it. They are the life itself. They are what a lion actually is. And perhaps that is the thought to carry with you as the night deepens. Lions spend most of their lives not in dramatic action, but in the quiet work of connection, in resting together, in touching, in scent sharing, in the slow recognition of another being pressed warm against your side. They have built, over millions of years of evolution, a society held together not by rules or obligations or abstract principles, but by physical closeness, by the simple, repeated, chemical fact of being near the ones you belong to, as you lie in your own warmth now, as the sounds around you soften and the edges of your thoughts begin to blur. You're doing something that lions understand without understanding it. You are resting within the safety of your own connections. The pride that holds you, the people and the places and the relationships that form the territory of your life, those bonds are what you return to after every day of effort and movement and striving. Just as a lion returns to its pride after a night of ranging and is greeted and is recognized and belongs. The stars over the Serengeti are still impossibly bright. The male lion has roared twice more in the past hour, and his voice has travelled out across the grass and the silence and the dark. Somewhere, far across the territory, another pride has heard it, and their resident male has answered. A distant, rolling response that says, "We are here too, and this is ours." And the two roars have defined a line in the darkness that neither pride will cross tonight. A boundary maintained by sound, a border held by breath. The cubs are dreaming. Their small paws twitch, their whiskers move. Whatever images move through their sleeping minds, they are warm. They are pressed against each other and against the adults who surround them. They are safe in the only way that matters completely. They are not alone. The adults breathe slowly in the darkness. Their great chests rise and fall. Their ears swivel occasionally toward a sound, then settle. The cooling night air moves across the savanna, carrying the smell of dry grass and distant water, and the faint, complex individual scent of each lion pressed against the earth. They breathe each other in. They have breathed each other in every night for years, and they will breathe each other in tomorrow night, and the night after that, for as long as the territory holds and the bonds remain and the pride stays whole. This is what it is to be a lion. Not the roar alone, not the hunt alone, not the solitary silhouette against a sunset sky. It is this, a group of connected animals resting in the dark, sustained by each other, dreaming their animal dreams, ready when the moment comes to move together with a purpose and a precision that no individual could manage alone. The night continues for the lions. The stars slowly begin to drift across the sky. Our story ends here, dear listeners. Perhaps you've already fallen asleep. I hope this video has given you a peaceful night's rest. See you in the next video. Good night.